Yo peeps, Mischief here. Welcome to the Conspiracy Cupboard. Today we're going to be looking at the Aurora Texas UFO incident and looking at a few incidents just before this as well. And the earliest account that I can find of a UFO sighting is 1561. So, before we get into the Aurora incident, let's look into this. Cue the title sequence, please. There we go, title sequence away. Yo peeps, so we're going to be covering the Aurora Texas UFO incident then. That occurred in 1897. But before we do that, I thought it'd be quite interesting because I've been covering the history of UFOs. And I've got some more pieces coming from 1944 to 1961 to fill in those gaps on there. And then moving forward. Basically, I'm trying to get a timeline together for everybody to see basically the history of UFOs and how many times they've been seen, things have been exposed, beings have been seen, etc. over hundreds of years. And like I said in the beginning, 1561 is the earliest account that I can find at the moment for a UFO. And it's spectacular. It's an actual battle in the sky. And I thought I'd do this as well to celebrate Independence Day for you Americans over there. So that's why I'm covering the Aurora, Texas one. But you'll be interested in this first. So before we get to the Aurora, Texas in 1897 then, we've got this celestial battle in the sky in 1561 in the Holy Roman Empire, Nuremberg, Bavaria. So residents of Nuremberg described an aerial battle followed by the appearance of a large black triangle object. Then a crash outside the city. A broadsheet recorded that witnesses observed hundreds of spheres, cylinders and other odd-shaped objects moving erratically overhead. Now this is 1561. It just shows every single thing I just mentioned there. Black triangle objects, spheres, cylinder objects, you know, brightly coloured things flying and darting about in some kind of aerial battle. That is everything that we see today. And it's amazing, isn't it? You think this is going back over, what, 200 years there? 1561, 300 years? And we're seeing the same things now. So everyone is familiar then with the crash at Roswell, New Mexico. And what I thought I'd do is I'll give you a couple of other ones before we get to the Aurora incident, where this is probably the first evidence of a sort of crash cover-up, basically, on US soil especially. And if you think it was only another 40 years or so after this that the Roswell incident was. 50 years. I am right. So just before then, we've got an incident in New Mexico at Zacatecas Observatory in 1883. So on August 12th, the astronomer Jose Bonneville counted over 400 dark unidentified objects crossing the sun while observing sunspot activity at Zacatecas Observatory in New Mexico. He was able to take photographs, wet exposed plates at 1/100th of a second. He published an account of the event 3 years later in the L'Astronomie, a French astronomy journal. So we've got an account then again from the United States of mystery ships. This is 1896. So newspapers across California and other states printed reports of strange airships. Common elements of the description included flapping wings, a cigar-shaped body and a metal hull. So this could be, I don't know, a dragon, some weird aircraft. But 1896, you know, also spotted in 1897 as well. And then we have Aurora, Texas UFO incident in 1897.
Floated overhead in the early morning hours and crashed on the hillside. And then in the story it said the pilot of the craft, comma, which was not of this earth, comma, was given a Christian burial in Aurora Cemetery.
So the Aurora, Texas UFO incident reportedly occurred on April 17th in 1897, when, according to locals, a UFO crashed on a farm near the Aurora, Texas. The incident, similar in the more famous Roswell UFO incident 50 years later, I was close, 50 years, is claimed to have resulted in a fatality of the pilot. The pilot was not of this world and claimed to be alien. The pilot was buried, as you can see, at the Aurora Cemetery. A stone was placed as a marker on the grave and has since been removed. Now, I've got a couple of clips for you from a couple of the locals there who gave a bit of a testimony to an interview that went out and saw them in the late 80s. One of them is a older lady. She is adamant that this didn't happen. So here's a clip of her.
Spaceman, I moved to Aurora in 1920, and not one word did anybody ever mention about it.
So, according to her then, as you can see, she thinks that the whole thing was just made up to get people to come back into the town. Now, around this time, a lot of deaths had occurred, and people think that it was basically a hoax that was made up to sort of bring people back into the town and get the town thriving again. It went from having like 5,000 people or so to like 500 in no time at all, due to a fever that took hold of the town and basically just decimated the place. No one obviously wanted to go back because of the deaths that had occurred there and the sickness that was going around. So the actual incident then occurred on the 19th of April in 1897. An article in the Dallas Morning News written by S.E. Hayden described the UFO crash. The UFO is said to have hit a windmill on the property of Judge J.S. Proctor 2 days earlier at about 6 a.m. local time, resulting in its crash. The pilot, who was reported to be not of this world and a Martian, according to reported Army signal officer named J.T. Weems from nearby Fort Worth, did not survive the crash and was buried with Christian rites at the nearby Aurora Cemetery. The cemetery contains a Texas Historical Commission marker mentioning the incident. Now, reportedly, wreckage from the crash site was dumped in a nearby well located under the damaged windmill, while some ended up in the grave of the alien as well with him, or her, or them, or the tree, or whatever. I don't think they go into that. I won't go into that. Adding to the mystery, the story of Mr. Bowley Oates, who purchased Judge Proctor's property around 1935. Oates cleaned out debris from under the well in order to use it as a water source, but later developed an extremely severe case of arthritis, which he claimed was the result of contaminated water from the wreckage at the bottom of the well. Oates sealed up the well with a concrete slab and placed an outbuilding atop of the slab. According to a writing, the slab was done in 1945. So the hoax theory, as I mentioned, features in 1988 Time magazine interview with Etta Hughes, the 86-year-old Aurora resident who claimed that Hayden had fabricated the entire story, stating that Hayden wrote it as a joke to bring interest back to Aurora after the railroad had bypassed the town and, as I mentioned, people were dying due to a fever. So we can't really say that it was a hoax or it wasn't, but the testimony of the gentleman that's up next, and you heard his voice at the beginning of the show, that you didn't know. Basically, he is adamant that this happened. So let's listen to him, shall we?
Charlie Stevens claims when he was 7 in 1897, he saw the crash.
We don't want to trouble you too much about this because we know you're not feeling too well.
Because of the years of harassment, he refused to appear on camera, but he did agree to talk to us.
Think you could tell me what you remember about the night that the light went over the house?
There's been more people, more told about that but I seen it with my own eyes. It fell.
Something fell there.
But we went up there and seen the spot where it burned.
Some people think it's a hoax.
But it fell.
So as you can see, they couldn't get him to come out of the house, and he refused to go on film, basically because he's been harassed that much over this incident, and people obviously wanting to find out if it's real or fake, which anyone coming forward with these kind of stories, I'm sure, as Bob Lazar has said, can just find it amazingly overwhelming, because people obviously want to contact you, and then you've got other people that just want to, I don't know, piss about with you, or mess about with your head or whatever, for whatever reason. So it's been covered by many people as well, and the main sort of investigations have been done by KWF Report, which was in 1998, a Dallas-based TV station, KDWF, aired a lengthy report about the Aurora incident. UFO Files Investigations. On December 19th, 2005, UFO Files first aired an episode related to this incident titled Texas Roswell. So you can go and check out these incidents and these other places as well to get more in-depth information on the incident. Now, as far as I'm aware, MUFON have tried to investigate the cemetery and uncovered a grave marker that appeared to show a flying saucer of some sort, as well as readings from a metal detector. MUFON asked for permission to exhume the site, but the cemetery allocation denied permission, as they did previously. After the MUFON investigation, the marker mysteriously disappeared from the cemetery, and a 3-inch pipe was placed into the ground. MUFON's metal detector no longer picked up any metal readings from the grave, thus it was presumed that the metal was removed from the grave by someone else. So could this be the remnants of the bit that they missed on a crash retrieval program? Could it have been the first time that the US had actually gone in and done anything? There's no reports of military going there. There's no reports of anyone actually turning up or doing anything, obviously, after the crash happened and the windmill was hit, after they buried the bodies. So we don't have anything to go on after that. But like I read out to you, 1561, is reportedly a battle between triangle UFOs and cigar-shaped objects and spherical objects, and hundreds of them flying about. And then we get the obviously Aurora incident. There's many more in between that, many more, and I'm going to be covering or trying to cover as many as I can for you, just to show you the depth of evidence that we have to support the fact that there's other beings out there. There's ships from somewhere, whether it's another dimension, whether it's outer space, and there's been crashes. There's people that claim, and you've heard the testimony of one person that desperately claims that this happens. This lady obviously says, no, it didn't happen, he made it up. Then again, you're going to get people that say that anyway. You're always going to get people that want to deny something like this happened. And who knows? People say that they found bits of metal and other things, so there's something there. There's some evidence left. Well, not anymore, because whoever it was came in and took it, and we have no idea, obviously, who came in and took it, do we, people? But yeah. So what do you guys think? The Aurora, Texas UFO incident. It's fascinating, isn't it? We're talking, 1897, 50 years, before the Roswell incident, which is not too far from there. Maybe there's crashing there. Maybe there's some kind of signal that keeps going down there when they're coming in, and it's like, oh shit, I forgot to crashes into somebody else, Then you've got to go for the paperwork and everything, but then you've been taken away, so your insurance has gone up, and it must be a nightmare for them, that area for crashes. So my next couple of episodes are going to be following up on the UFO topic, and obviously the connection to hallucinogenics, and I'm going to be trying to fill a bit more of that in, and also I'm going to be talking to one of my friends, Chris Brown, and he's going to be telling me about his struggles with testicular cancer and his work for the charity group Orchid, which he's just done a charity walk for across Derby in his budgie smugglers. So, well done, Chris, for that. You raised over 500 and something pounds there, I know. So I'm going to be getting him on to have a chat. Hopefully he'll tell me if he's had any experiences with ghosts or seen UFOs or anything like that. But hey, if he hasn't, he can tell us about his struggles and where he is now and what he's doing, and basically, you know, the charity, which I think is an important thing. So it's not going to be a a typical conspiracy cupboard episode, but yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy it anyway. So yeah, happy Independence Day to everyone over in America, and don't forget, you know, the true meaning of Independence Day for everyone over there is the day that Will Smith saved us all from the alien invasion. You know, that documentary is absolutely fantastic. Just kidding, guys. Hope you have a good one. And yeah, if there's any stories that you guys would like me to cover, as I've said before, please leave comments. And yeah, I've got plenty more coming up. Also, I've got the Tunguska event that I'm going to be covering. I was going to do it the other day on the anniversary of the Tunguska event, which is the 30th of June. And if you don't know about the Tunguska event, then it basically is when an asteroid entered our atmosphere and took out a load of trees. And I'll be covering that for you, and the near Earth objects that we get alerted to by NASA, and how close are they actually, and what would it take for one to do a similar thing like Tunguska, and what would happen if it did. So join me in the next couple of episodes, and yeah, like I say, I'm going to have an interview with Chris, talking to him about his experiences and the charity work, and hopefully if he's ever seen a ghost or a UFO, you know. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode. I shall see you on the flip side, peeps. Yeah, never do that again.
And they tell you he didn't follow, they're telling you a lie.
Basically, if you don't know about if I could put my bloody teeth in, if you don't know about the Tunguska, if you don't know about the conductor event, if you don't know about the Tunguska event, if you don't know about the fucking Jesus Christ.